Hey, it's Keith. Have you ever thought about creating your own audio drama? Ever wanted to make your first episode of something? Then you should know about the Audio Drama Lab. It's a Discord-based resource for audio drama development and networking. You can connect with other creators, find actors and musicians, and even incubate your idea with step-by-step advice, accountability, and encouragement. Check it out at audiodramalab.com and start telling your story. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of a podcast about audio drama and the creative process. I'm W. Keith Timms, audio drama producer and podcaster. In this show, I listen to the first episode of an audio drama, then have a discussion with the creators about their show, their methods, struggles, and successes. Today, we're discussing the first episode of Murphy's Inc.
When the things you seek have been lost to time, look no further. We can go get them. We're Murphy's Inc.
Murphy's Inc. is a time-traveling sci-fi adventure. Originally conceived by Milliam Chan and broadcast on public radio station KNBC in Carson City, Nevada, the show follows a group of thieves who are hired to go back in time and steal valuable objects from ancient history. Chan has since left the show, but the original writers, Austin Dye and Tera Eon, and the producer, Mark Helton, continue the series. The first episode, You're New Here, introduces us to the Murphy's Inc. organization, its leader, the eponymous Murphy, two agents, Daphne and Michael, and the support staff that makes these time-traveling heists possible. Daphne and Michael also get an assignment: steal a good luck charm from the Viking, Eric the Red. I spoke with producer Mark Helton and writer Tera Eon remotely. Why don't you each tell me a little bit about yourselves as artists and creative types, and tell me what you do for Murphy's Incorporated.
So my name is Mark Helton. I am the executive producer on Murphy's Inc. I am involved in all aspects of the show. In the television world, I would be considered the showrunner. I don't really do much of the writing, but at least with creative helping to come up with the story, I do some of that. So I got involved in the theatrical arts in my youth. I love acting. I love performing on stage. I would say my preference is actually musical theater. I've done over 50 productions in my career. I sing, I dance, I act, I direct. I also enjoy doing lighting design. I do a lot. For my real job, if you will, I work as a state government employee where I'm what they call a management analyst, and I deal with numbers and crunching data and things of that nature. Well, COVID happened. And when that happened, it really took away the performing arts, at least from a theatrical standpoint. And a friend of mine, who's also an executive producer on Murphy's Inc., he and we've been friends since high school, and we were trying to find an outlet and something to do. And we started doing a live interactive broadcast, if you will, that turned into a podcast. And during that time, early in COVID, there was a show that came out that was having auditions called Secrets of Heritage House. Oh, yeah. And I auditioned for that show and unfortunately did not get cast in season 1. And I was super disappointed by that because I think I'm a pretty talented individual. But they had some issues with an actor they had cast for season 2, and they called me and said, "Hey, are you interested?" And I said, "Sure." And they're like, "We want you to jump on right now." So I ended up joining Secrets of Heritage House. During season 2, I had such a great time with it that I decided to get more involved. And for season 3, I was actually an executive producer. And during that time of working on Secrets of Heritage House, I was introduced to the team at Murphy's Inc. And they were looking for somebody to help steer that ship. I was already interested in the show when I first heard about the concept. My first introduction to the team at Murphy's Inc. was actually on day 1 of the auditions. it was a lot of fun to do that audition process with them and really get to know Tara and Austin, who are the two lead writers on the show. And then also at the time, the creator of Murphy's Inc., the guy who really came up with the elevator pitch and some of the original concept, if you will, Milliam Chan, who's no longer involved with the show, unfortunately, but, getting to know him. And we had some people from Secrets of Heritage House that came over to help kind of consult with the early development and getting the show off the ground. So yeah, that was a lot of my involvement. Today, I am still the showrunner, executive producer, and we're off to the races.
Great. Tera, tell me a little bit about you and what you do on the show and what your background is.
My name is Tera Eon. I'm a writer, like Mark said, one of the lead writers, producer, some would say executive producer. I direct. I do a little bit of the assembly work to get everything in order for the wonderful Joe Bly to work his magic. I have a lot of fingers in this show. That sounded weird, but I love it. It's my biggest creative undertaking so far. I don't have much of a background, actually. I'm 28, so I've really just been working, like in the public sector or whatever you would say. I want to do more, but this is my stepping stone. This is my first big chance to really show what I can do, and I'm very proud to be able to work with a bunch of great people. I love everybody I work with. Every time I get off of a recording, I'm like, damn, I really love the people I work with. So it's cool.
How did you get involved with the crew on Murphy's Inc.?
It's been so long. It's only been a year, but it's been a fuzzy year. But I'm pretty sure I was just browsing Reddit, looking for stuff to do, looking for something to work on with a team. And I can't remember who had made the post, but there was a post and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And it just kind of snowballed from there. I was kind of in on the ground floor. I met Milliam Chan, and there was another chick named Julia who was working with us at the time, but she was only there for 5 days, unfortunately. But she was really cool. And then Austin was also there. It was just the four of us kind of collaborating, throwing some stuff together.
Tera, how did you get into the arts?
I love the arts from a distance as an audience member. I don't know. Like I said, I'm 28, but a lot of it's just been time spent working, just working. Yeah. I really just wanted to get out some creativity. You know what I mean? Just get something out there. And I was like, well, I'm going to be a writer. When I was in high school, I was good at writing, that's what people said. So I was like, well, I'll give that a shot. I've always been in it too. When I was in high school, I hung out with the theater kids, and there was a weird time where I would do shows and sing. So it's always kind of been there, but now I'm I want to do something. I'm tired of just working and coming home and being bored all the time.
Well, now I want to know, Mark, how did you get into theater? Were you starting off as a kid getting into the arts?
Pretty much as a kid, I was always told, oh, you're so dramatic. You should, I was told you should be a lawyer or all these things. And, I was that kid in elementary school when there would be the school play or something that I'd be the one volunteering. Yeah, I want to do it. I had an amazing experience in junior high where I was involved with a show that had been written by the director called The Wizard of Odd. And I played the Scarecrow. And the director of that show, an amazing man, Stephen Harrington, he was my high school drama teacher. I had such a great experience in that I decided I wanted to do it more when I got into high school. And I myself, I've done television, I've done movies, I've done all of that kind of stuff. But to me, still stage, and especially in the realm of musicals, that's, I think, my true passion.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about the show, Murphy's Inc.? Tell me, what is this show in your own words? What do you think about when you think about this show?
I mean, it started with a really simple premise. And anytime I try to tell people what it's about, I'm just like, all right, listen, time traveling thieves. And that kind of gets people that's a simple enough thing to be like, oh, okay. I get what you're coming from. But it's really just a group of not nefarious, but definitely not above board adventurers, so to speak, in it for the personal gain, going back in time to grab relics and other items and things. Rich assholes who want, something, an impressive trophy to show off,
It's a futuristic setting. At least it feels that way. It's not super far in the future, but it feels like it's maybe a decade or two down the road from us.
Not Batman Beyond vibes, but definitely not so distant future, but not today. That's where we're trying to hit it at. Yeah.
Near future, I think, is the best descriptor.
So we have a group of futuristic criminals, Murphy's Inc., led by this Murphy, who is the leader of the group. And as you say, their job is to travel back in time and retrieve artifacts from the past from people who hire them. There's actually like a whole world involved here in this criminal undertaking. There's agents that do the work, and then there's technicians, and then there's people who build period costumes.
It's a whole enterprise,
That's kind of an interesting concept, because, it could be just a couple of guys with a time machine.
Might be easier to write that way.
What is your approach to the subject? What's the appeal of the large cast with many different characters there?
We have fun exploring these characters interacting with each other. Like the first season, it's more of a focus on what's going on in the past, but definitely in this upcoming season, we're trying to work more on how these characters, like, because we do have a pretty big cast.
Yeah.
We're just trying to see, like, okay, this person and this person, what happens when we put them in a room together? Or like, what happens if we send these two together on a mission? They don't get along. What happens? That sort of thing. It's just seeing, like, it's just being in a lab and mixing chemicals,
Oh, sure.
What's going to happen,
Yeah.
That's the fun of it.
Let's just get our measurements for these costumes done. As long as we don't need tights to look like Vikings, I'll be happy.
Lucky for you, tights weren't very vogue in ancient Scandinavia.
Philippe, it's always a treat to visit your shop. How have you been?
Easy come, easy go. Fashion industry is fickle enough as it is. But at least the underworld stays consistent, yes? Everyone wants black, or if they're feeling bold, a darker shade of gray. Your visits, on the other hand, give me the challenge a true artiste like myself craves.
That's why I look forward to your shop the most when we prepare for these special projects. And you'll never guess who the client is this time.
Who?
Jason Erickson.
Caught yourself a fat one, yes? Let me guess. Vikings?
Late 10th century. Eric the Red Set Stalker is our target.
Daphne, I don't think you...
Oh, relax, Jarhead. It's Philippe. He works under Murphy just like us, and he's got his lips locked tighter than Fort Knox.
Until I've had enough bubbly in me, of course.
The concept was this, as you described it, enterprise. And so, yeah, you could have the three main characters, Murphy, the leader, Michael and Daphne, the agents, and that be it. But I think there's something that would be lacking, building it out and having those characters like the librarian who helps them research, because Michael clearly has a military background. He's not a historian. Daphne, she kind of just seems like maybe a cool chick. She's probably not a historian either. So how are they just going to go grab a history book? No, we need somebody to teach them. They could jump back in time in their street clothes, but that probably wouldn't go so well. Yeah, so you need Philippe, you need Gleason. Gleason, who, he's probably my favorite character because, well, I
wonder why.
You don't happen to do the voice of Gleason, do you?
Oh, I do. I do.
Yes.
I'm a character actor, and so I love getting those opportunities. But I think it's
really just about like fleshing out the world.
Yeah, it's not just about the three mains. It's about what goes on around them too. And I like to really akin it to Star Trek: The Next Generation. And as Tara was talking about, seeing different characters interact. Right, you had Worf, but when you saw, near the end of the series, when Worf and Deanna Troi got together, Worf was different, right? And then even taking that character forward into Deep Space Nine, he was much different there, right? And so I love the fact that we have all of these different characters who have different personalities. And when we mix them together, we're seeing these interactions. And as Tara referenced, in season 2, there's going to be so much more of that.
We were talking about fleshing out the world and having these characters. One of the things when I was listening to the first episode, I really got this almost James Bond kind of vibe of like this big underground bunker connected by these tunnels with little carts. Yeah. And like James Bond, he gets his orders from M, and then he goes to CQ where he gets his gadgets. And, and then there's all these little stops along the way. Yeah. And I definitely got that kind of feel in the first episode, meeting all these people and following the agents as they travel throughout the facility.
And I think that's exactly part of what we were going for. Sure, you could just take Doc and Marty and throw them in a DeLorean and have them go back to 1858, but how's that really going to go? I mean, remember what Marty was wearing?
Yeah, it's essential to have a team. Yeah.
Miss Murphy, didn't see you there. What brings you in?
Checking in on my employees. I've noticed you've been at it for a while down here. Is there an issue with the device?
It was going just fine until I found, I think it best be described as a hiccup. As far as functionality, everything's fine, but there's this strange little energy flare right before it finishes firing. Doesn't seem to be affecting anything, but then again, I can only do so much. Don't really know much about this, do we?
No, not really. But thanks to your mechanical expertise, we've made great progress in understanding its inner workings. However, with things of this nature, there is still much to be learned.
Yeah, just saying that we've had more than a few close calls already. Of course, your travelers will never know that, but these anomalies are getting more and more common. I can fix them in due time, but I'm worried that we're treating the symptom rather than the cause.
Regrettably, that is something that requires us to know much, much more than the very little we do currently. I'm certain you'll come up with something.
Mark, you came in after the show had already begun production. And then, Tera, you were there from the beginning, but the core idea was someone else's, William Chan's. I'm curious, could you both speak to what it's like to work starting with someone else's ideas, and then as you integrate into it, how you find your own voice and find your own imprint into the show?
It's really weird. The basic idea was there when I got there. There was the elevator pitch, basically, and then the rest of it was just up to us to kind of flesh it out. That was weird because I'm used to just like, if I want to work on something, I'll just work on it. I'll just flesh it out and do whatever. But it was a learning curve to like learn to work with other people. But like, so Chan would be like, no, I want it like this. And we would be like, it's not really going to work. Like it's an audio drama. We can't show things. So it was a lot of like collaborating, trying to like fine tune it to be something that was workable for the medium. Like, taking Chan's vision and running with it was a new experience. And he was cool. He didn't want to give up that core of like some of the core things he had in mind. But there were some things where we were just like, we have to change this. Like, it's not going to work if we don't. And, he eventually was like, all right, well, if that's how it is, we'll do it. But, it was just teamwork.
Murphy's Inc. has one completed season, and you're working on season 2 now. Do you feel like you have a stronger voice that you've helped shape the narrative into what it is now, taking over and being a part of the writing team this way?
Yeah, like it's definitely Austin and I, like it really is our baby. Like, no offense to Chan or anything, but we really like took it and ran with it and made it what it is right now. Not to sound like pompous or arrogant or anything, but like we wrote it, like we sat down late nights scribbling stuff down, trying to make it something. I'm proud of it. You know what I mean? Like, there are some weak points. Everybody who's ever listened to the whole thing is like, see, episode 4 kind of weak, and they're like, we know. But like, yeah, I'm proud of it.
Mark, what was it like stepping in as a producer for the show? You didn't start.
So I'm not gonna lie, and I've said this to Tera directly, so I know I can say this and I won't offend her. When I came into that first meeting with them, which was like a half hour before day 1 of auditions, and this was me trying to figure out if I wanted to do this, talking with William Chan, Austin Dai, and Tera Eon, talking to them about who they are and what their background was. I was like, I have to do this because I don't know if it will be successful otherwise. And, Austin and Tera, this was their first major outing in a writing capacity. William Chan had no experience. He had a really good idea. I will give him all the credit in the world to this day. He had a really good idea, but none of them had any experience with driving, leading, running a production.
Sure.
And, to an extent, that experience, that theater experience, extremely immensely helpful. That recent experience with Secrets of Heritage House from that aspect, immensely helpful. But it was, I'm not going to lie, scary. When I looked at William Chan's original idea was to, in essence, take his elevator pitch, get cast, get post-production. He thought he was going to get it done within 2 months. I thought that was absolutely insane and unrealistic, because we didn't have anybody working on music yet. We didn't have a post-production person. At the time of auditions, episode 1 was not 100% in the can ready to be recorded. So when I came in and I took over, I basically said, we're not going to rush this. We're going to do it right. I'd rather take my time, find the right cast, find the right post-production people. I don't ever want to put my name on crap. I said, let's take our time. Let's read through these scripts. Let's review them. Let's work with these actors. Since this is a show about the first episode of, I will tell you, we recorded the entire first episode, and
it was kind of garbage.
Yeah, we got a rough.
I'll say it.
We got a rough draft of just the recordings, no sound effects, no anything else, and we listened to it. And I basically said, if this is what we're going to go forward with, I'm not going to do the show because it was bad. The direction was bad.
It was really
some of the voice acting needed to be. And that comes back to, I think, direction. But one of the other things that we found was that the person that we had originally cast as Murphy sounded almost identical to the person that we had cast as Michael.
Yeah, it's a problem.
And because those two characters interact a lot, especially in those first 2 episodes, that was going to be a problem. So we ended up, the person we had originally cast as Hart, Kirsty Harrison, ended up moving into that Murphy role. We then had Tera helped step up with redirecting episode 1. And we also had the consultant from Secrets of Heritage House. He stepped up to help. And we basically completely re-recorded episode 1. And it felt a whole hell of a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
You must have really believed in the project then to put that much effort into salvaging.
As I said, I was interested in this show purely from an acting standpoint from the moment I heard about the casting call.
Yeah.
So for me, I thought just based on time traveling thieves, that sounds interesting.
That's all it takes, man.
Reading the sides, I was like, ooh, this looks like it could be fun. I was like, I think we have something special here. It's a matter of what we do with it and where we go with it with season 2, because we knew season 1 was going to be short and it's just an introduction to this universe.
Let's talk about the first episode. It turns out the team at Murphy's Inc. is hired by a rich jewelry and fashion magnate to go back in time to the Viking era and steal a good luck charm from Eric the Red. Time travel stories are always problematic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, there's like, well, how does time travel work? And is there a reality that we have to follow? Is it the Back to the Future method? Or is it, some other time travel method, and there's always this paradoxes. Like, I know, for example, the characters say, we've got 2 weeks to do this job. Well, couldn't they just come back, in time before they left or something, right?
Yeah.
Or if they steal the good luck charm in the past, then would the guy ever have it to begin with? I'm just curious as to how you guys approach, or if you approach at all, time travel paradoxes or that kind of problematic writing.
When I came into the show, there was no show Bible. We still really don't technically have a show Bible.
But we're just kind of doing it on the fly. We'll say some stuff and we'll be like, yeah, that's good.
The mechanics of the universe, we do have rules that we have discussed and agree to. This is how this works. This is how this can affect this. But there is still, to an extent, figuring it out a little bit as we go, because we don't want to be beholden to anything else's universe, like Back to the Future and the way the rules work there, or Star Trek with time travel there, or Marvel Cinematic Universe. We want to be able to do our own thing and see how things play out. And for anybody who has listened to this season completely, you're probably going to know that there are some things that are affected by what we do.
When it comes to time travel, it's one of those things where, like, you start looking at it and the longer you look at it, the uglier it gets. And like, it just, it's like a stain on a carpet, and you're like, now I can't unsee it. I think it's one of those things where we don't want to like beat the audience over the head with it, because then they're going to be thinking about it the whole time. Right. I don't think in the first season, we really brought up how it works so much as just, it works.
Right.
That suspension of disbelief is a part of it. You say time traveling thieves, and you're like, okay, all right, I'm along for the, like, if that hooks you, you're along for the ride, no matter what. I think at some point we're going to maybe dip our toes a little bit into it, and then maybe we'll fully dive in. But I think it's more important to tell a good story with just the concept of time travel than it is to really be like, okay, these are the nuts and bolts of how we're doing this.
I'm thinking of movies like Primer. I don't know if you guys have seen that one.
Oh yeah, with the two guys in a box or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Which the mechanics of time travel in that are integral to the story that they're trying to tell there.
For sure.
But on the other hand, sometimes it's like, do you want to see your hero fight a dinosaur or not? Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, we're here to do cool stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's kind of a smart way to approach it. It's like, sure, there are paradoxes, and yes, there's weirdness that can happen here, but we're going to have high-tech thieves confront Vikings.
So, what's left on the to-do list? More supply jobs? I think we might be running our interns a little too hard.
Really? Kids these days, I swear, so lazy. You'd think they'd be climbing over each other to go back in time, but no. They need a whole week to relax after a stroll the ancient Egyptian desert.
Not everyone's married to their work, Michael.
They should be. Anyway, we still need a few slabs of Greek marble from the 3rd century, samples of some extinct Prussian flora, and some Chinese porcelain.
Oh, is that all?
Nope. Still got a whole book's worth of these things.
When's the last time you ate?
What does that have to do with anything?
You look like you're on the workaholic diet. Coffee and cigarettes.
So what? I can eat before I sleep, and I can sleep when I'm dead.
Speaking of high-tech thieves, sometimes writing criminals can be tricky. Writing characters that are already from the get-go are lawbreakers or ne'er-do-wells, not obeying society's rules. I'm curious as to how y'all approached writing these characters who are criminals and yet wanted the audience to have fun with them or relate to them or connect to what they're doing and that kind of thing.
What's one of the best shows that has been on in the last decade? Breaking Bad, right?
Sure. Right.
I think it's all a matter of how you sell it. Yes, the Murphy's Inc. squad, if you will, are working under the table, that are working for quasi-nefarious means, but they're not out there murdering people. They are living a life that is counter to maybe what the casual individual might be doing, but there's probably a reason that they're living that life. Again, as we referenced, Michael has a military background, but now he travels through time to steal stuff, right? So what happened in his military career or post-military career that caused him to go down this track? And I think that can create interesting stories. Daphne, we don't really know much about her background, but there's probably a reason that she's here. And so I think you don't sell it as you're trying to tell the villain's story.
As far as getting the audience kind of hooked into the narrative, into the world, it's important to have characters who you don't know, at least in my opinion, too much about at first. Part of the fun is figuring it out. You know what I mean? Like you want to be there for the ride.
And I would say one of my favorite shows, character driven, that really there was shock value over the series, Lost. When you look at some of the characters there in episodes 1, 2, 3, season 1, you don't know who these people are. You don't know that somebody here is a millionaire, won the lotto. You don't know that another person here is a con man.
Right.
And as you find those things out over the course of the show, other things make a whole heck of a lot more sense. And I think there's a lot of fun there to see that develop over time rather than, episode 1, here's who I am, here's what I do, here's my background.
Right.
I'm not terribly fond of that.
There's not a lot of violence in the show. Violence is not like part and parcel of the storytelling, like on a regular basis. They banter with each other. They tell jokes. They kind of pal around together. I think also you're taking the crime out of the present. So it's not our world that they're robbing from. They're robbing from the past. So that kind of like puts a distance, like, oh, well, they're only robbing from the past. So,
Well, and that was and is one of the rules that I established early on, was that we're not going to do anything that's recent. We're not going to deal with any timelines, anything that is in the last maybe even 100 years. If we're going to do something, we need to go back far. So we're not dealing with any image infringement or, we don't want any lawsuits or anything like that. But also there are so many facets of history that people don't regularly address. I mean, have you heard of a story about Eric the Red before this?
How do you measure success?
I don't. I don't know. I don't care about other people's success. It's not a race. It's not a competition. As long as I can find joy in what I've done or what I am doing, that's all that matters. Like, we're not getting paid. That kind of sucks, but I enjoy working with the people I work with. I enjoy the product we're putting out. And I think the people who do listen and the people who will listen are going to get something out of it. They'll, have a good time, and that's enough,
I would say that I measure success by the success of those around me, or perceived success of those around me. I like to try and lift people up, build people up. One of the things I've always prided myself in my professional career is helping others achieve that next level, that next promotion, whatever the case may be. Some of my proudest moments for Tera and Austin, hearing episode 1 that they wrote, and now it's fully produced, and the first time they get to hear it before it gets released, if you will. I think I really enjoy those moments. The one thing I said coming into to do this product was, I want to get through season 1. I want to get it fully produced and out there. If nothing else, for me, that would be the success factor.
What lessons have you learned about creating audio drama that you can share with people who might want to create their own?
I would say for me that the biggest lesson that I've learned is to surround yourself with people that are passionate about what they are doing. Because if that isn't there, they're not going to stick around. I think there are other shows that I've worked on, other things I've been a part of, and you can tell there are those that are just doing it for a paycheck, or they're just doing it for the credit. They're just doing it for the line on the resume. And that's fine. I think we've all been there at some point. They're early in my acting career. There were musicals I did as the ensemble because I just needed to bolster the resume. But I think for me now, I really only want to work with passionate individuals that are hungry, that want to make something worthwhile.
Yeah. Tera, what have you learned through this process?
Okay, so I've worked all sorts of sides on the project, right? I would say the biggest things I've taken away, if you're a producer, take notes, be organized. It's very important. If you're a writer, don't worry too much about the deadlines, but remember the deadlines exist. Stay up really late and get them done. I love pressure. And as a director, have fun with your talent. You got to treat them like your friends, because they are your friends. If the environment is hostile or it just feels like a job, nobody's going to have fun. They're not going to put their heart into it. Have fun.
As I was saying, we're on schedule to jump on Saturday.
Excellent work, you two. I can't stress enough just how important this mission is for us, for the company. I wouldn't task anyone but my 2 best agents with something this big.
Aw, Chief.
Don't be complacent. Promising as the rewards are, the consequences of failure are equal in magnitude.
We're more than capable, Miss Murphy. Ma'am.
You're both the best at what you do, don't misunderstand me. But we all slip up eventually. Nobody bats 1,000. So, don't treat this as a simple supply run. As I've said before, the future of this company hinges on the completion of this task. Think of its well-being as proportional to my own, and yours as well. Are we clear?
Murphy's Inc. is a fun concept, with likable characters, adventure, and an eye toward historical detail. It's also a good example of how audio drama is collaborative in nature, and people who are passionate about their art can work through difficulties to create something worthwhile. You can listen to Murphy's Inc. on most major podcast platforms, or see our show notes for more details. The first episode of is written and produced by W. Keith Timms. All the opinions expressed in this show belong to the people who expressed them, and not necessarily to anyone else. The theme song is Mockingbird by David Mumford. This show is a production of Alien Ghost Robot Creative Media. If you want more information, want to sign up for our newsletter, or are an audio drama creator and would like to be on the show, visit our website at TheFirstEpisodeOf.com. We're happy to be a part of the Audio Drama Lab, a Discord-based resource for audio drama development and networking. Check it out at audiodramalab.com. Keep telling stories. It's the only way we're going to get out of this mess. Until next time. I know you got questions about him. Where did he come from? How did he do all those things they say he did? Was he a terrorist? Was he crazy? Was his skin really blue? Well, I'll tell you what I know. I was there with him, driving through the back roads under the stars. I was witness to wonders and miracles, and to the darkness that's coursing through the veins of our country. He came to fight it in his own strange way, but no one leaves that fight unchanged. Not even Rael. People ought to know the truth. And I was there. The Book of Constellations is a down-to-earth sci-fi road trip. It's audio fiction, and you can find episodes at bookofconstellations.com or wherever you get your podcasts.